There's this disturbing video on the news on YouTube about a restaurant called Teriyaki Asian Cuisine in Kansas City. The employee is seen on the outside of the restaurant cutting up the meat. Now he don't have a tray. He don't have any type of lining. He literally got all the meat and he's chopping it up on the concrete. Now, you know how nasty concrete is. People are walking on it, animals are walking on it, people are urinating on concrete, people are doing all kind of stuff. It's just so much bacteria and disease and everything else on the bare concrete. And this guy is out there chopping up the meat for the restaurant outside. Now, the owner, when asked, he said that it was on for his own personal use and the meat that he was chopping up wasn't for the restaurant. Now, my question is, how do we know that? How do we know that? You know, I've seen so many videos of restaurants with dirty, nasty kitchens, meat that's been sitting out for a couple of hours, meat on the floor, mice droppings and, rat droppings and roaches and all kind of stuff. So how do we know that this guy wasn't chopping up the meat for the restaurant? I mean, how do we know that? See, you have to be really careful where you buy your meats and where you eat. Because it's this one restaurant I was going to, and I'm not going to name names on it. And it was kind of one of my favorites. But it's like every time I went in the bathroom was filthy as you know what. I mean, it was literally, it was filthy. The urinal was filthy. The sink was filthy. Everything in that restaurant was filthy. Now, they only had one restaurant each, men's and women's. So that means that the manager at some point got to go in there and use the bathroom, right? So, and regular employees. So you mean to tell me if you're the manager of a restaurant and you go in there and see all that filth, you're not going to get one of your employees in there and say, hey, Joe Blow, go in there and polish the bathroom up. Because if the bathroom is that filthy, what does that say about the kitchen itself? You got to wonder. If the bathroom and the manager go in there and use the bathroom, how do he use the bathroom in all that filth? See? And at one point, I did a comment on it. And, it seemed like it got a little bit better. But still, those are giveaways. That's why when restaurants went to where you can see them cooking, yeah, I liked it that. Because at least I can kind of see what's going on. And then you want to look for the license from the city saying that they was recently inspected and everything was good. So, you want to know these things. And one of the things that I do is when I go to, let's say, to a restaurant or a grocery store or something like that, I like to go where the food is constantly being turned over. They constantly putting fresh meat on the shelves. Not an empty store, empty restaurant where they don't get a lot of business, because that means that the food isn't moving as fast, right? So I like to go to like a Walmart or Aldi's or something like that. They constantly restocking that. Constantly restocking it. And I never got a bad piece of meat or I never got some spoiled milk or anything like that because the people are constantly buying it. But again, if you go in a place and it's like nasty and dirty, even in the area where you sit at to eat, that might not be the place for you, because if the people that run the place don't care about how clean the restaurant is, what is that telling you about the sanitation in the prep area and the kitchen area where they cooking the food? I've seen videos where people drop some meat on the floor and they just pick it up and throw it in the pan and keep it moving. See? Don't even rinse it off, let alone throw it away. So we as consumers, when we see these bad actors, we gotta, think twice and maybe not give them the business, because, you putting that stuff in you. There's been times I'll go to restaurants and get food poisoning. And I'm like, man, what happened? I'm all tore up. It's because sanitation. People not washing their hands, prepping food, people not keeping the kitchen clean, people leaving meats out that shouldn't be out. So all these things contribute to a bad restaurant, and we as consumers got to demand more, and demand that they put the license where the consumer can see it, that the place have been inspected, right? Because if not, I can't. If I lived in Kansas City and I saw a guy out there chopping the food up on the bare concrete, I don't think I want to see the inside of that place. So that's all I have for you. Again, this is Kay, back at it with a new video. Take care, guys.